All right, good afternoon, everyone. And yes, we start exactly on time because in film, time is money. And of course, we only have you for 1 hour. So, welcome to our Lunch and Learn session today. I am Leslie-Ann Wills-Caton, and I will be taking you briefly through what is a script breakdown. Now, feel free to ask any questions, but I may answer questions at the end. If you can put it in the chat, maybe perhaps depending on your question, it might relate to the session. I can probably answer it in real time. Now, before we begin, we do have another lunch and learn coming up, so feel free to scan the QR code to sign up in advance. It's on cinematography. And throughout the year, we will have several other lunch and learn sessions for you to participate in. All right. Okay, 12:01. Good. So let's get to find out just a little bit about you. So put in the chat exactly what you're here for, what your skill set is. Do you work in the film industry? Are you just here to learn and gain new information? Are you a scriptwriter, filmmaker, cinematographer, location scout, marketing, executive assistant, financial person, whoever you are, post it in the chat. Intern, line producer, any and all of it. Just type in the chat. And the reason why I want you all to type in the chat as well, it's a really good opportunity to get to meet new people in the space. And of course, you could network. So put your skill sets in the chat as only two so far. You're shy. Don't be shy. Okay, while you'll do that, so I want to cover the fundamentals. So yesterday, yes, we're looking at what a script breakdown is, but let's start with the basics. Before a film is shot, we have to plan it. And what does that mean? Filmmaking has 4 stages. People normally say, when does the filmmaking process start? Development. So development is when you first write the story. So you write the story, that's a development. Then we have the pre-production, and that is the stage we're in today, where you are planning how to shoot the story. Then you have production, which is the third phase or stage. That's the actual filming of your story. And then the final stage is post-production. That's the editing and the finishing of the film. Now, yes, we have distribution, exhibition, and a lot of other things, but for today, the concept of getting your film, your script from development to actually having something you can showcase, it's the 4 steps. And we will be looking today at the script breakdown, and I will touch briefly on budgeting just a little bit. Now, what is a script? And yes, I'm going very granular in terms of us understanding for the non-filmmakers what exactly is a script. And that is the written blueprint of your film. Now, I did put an image of Captain Marvel. Normally, we used a Final Draft, which is a script writing software to write our scripts. That's the what we will call the industry standard. So yes, people might use Microsoft Word and Google Docs. No. If you are a professional script writer, you will see it coming out from the Final Draft software, and that is what will give you that international recognition as an industry player in terms of screenwriting. Now, what does the script tell us? It tells us the story, who the characters are, the scenes, where the scenes happen, what actions occur, and what dialogue is spoken. And everything that appears in the script must eventually be, and I'll explain in detail, you have to film it, you have to build it out, you have to rent it, you have to either hire someone or additional persons, and you have to record it. So the script becomes the instruction manual for the entire film crew. So what this is saying is you cannot go to camera, or as we like to say, day one, principal photography, without actually having a script. Now, this is an example of a sample script. So for instance, you'll see EXT, which is exterior, and that tells you the location is outside. So once you see exterior beach day, it's outside at the beach daytime. Now, what is daytime? Daytime could be any time when the sun is up. You might see other script writers saying early morning, mid-morning, afternoon, day, late evening, midnight, twilight, and the daytime will tell you the environment that you need to film in. Now, for this particular section of our script, Maria walks towards the water holding a suitcase. Now, Maria, that whole line there is the action. And in a script, you need to identify location, time of day, and what the character, Maria, is actually doing. Now, she stops and looks at the horizon. Maria says, I finally made it. And then we see a small fishing boat passes in the distance. Now, if you had to type in the chat the different elements you are seeing just in this scene, what would you type? So what do you see? You can type it. We're seeing that it's a beach, so we need to find a beach. We're seeing one character, Maria, so we need to have an actress called Maria. Now, we haven't identified, of course, how old Maria is, what ethnicity Maria is, where the beach is. So there's a lot now as the writer you can either establish. But now when you're breaking down the script, you would need to know additional details for casting purposes, for location purposes. So it's Maria, it's the beach, time of day, subjective. She's holding a suitcase, so that's a prop. She stops and looks at the horizon, and then we see a small fishing boat passes in the distance. That's something. The boat is now a picture vehicle. So for this one scene, we need a fishing boat, and of course, who's driving the boat? We need to get a suitcase, we need to find a beach, we need to find Maria, and additional actors. And then you might start to think, well, who else is in the scene? Do we have other people that build out the world? Is Maria by herself at the beach? And you start to think about it at that granular level. Now, when we think of a script breakdown, it is the process of identifying everything needed to film the scene and to film each scene. So it means you're looking at the people, the objects, the locations, the effects, which we will discuss, the sounds, animals, costumes, and props. Now, what is a prop? A prop is anything the character interacts with. So for instance, if the character is using a phone, this is a prop. If the character takes a book, the book is the prop. If, let's say, for instance, there is a painting on the wall, but the character has nothing to do with the painting, then that's set dressing. So that's the difference. So anytime the character is interacting, touching, whatever it is, prop. And that means that someone has to handle providing all of the props. Okay? Now, when we think about a script breakdown, we will call all of these things elements. So the element will be object, person, process. And what is that? The script element is the object, the person, or the process identified in each scene. We have different categories when we look at your script breakdown process. So every time you look at a script you're reading, you are looking for different elements. The cast, how many persons do we have with speaking roles, non-speaking roles? The extras, extras are what we call background talent. So BG, background talent, and then atmosphere, we call them extras as well. So for instance, if we have a huge party scene and we have performers, you have maybe 4 main characters. The extras will be the party players at the scene because you don't need to have maybe 100 to 300 persons communicating, but you need to make it look like a realistic fete, right? And to make it a realistic fete, we need to have extras. And now what else will make up the atmosphere? You have people on the stage, you might have the DJ, you have other dancers on stage. So all of those characters make up extras to make your scene feel realistic and build the atmosphere. Now we'll discuss that because if you are having a fete in a scene, that's a lot of money, okay? Now, props. The props will be, of course, the objects the characters interact with, like I discussed. The costume will be every single piece of clothing each character is wearing. Okay, so yes, you have to identify. Remember, each script might have different story days. So day one, Maria is looking out at the beach, but day two, Maria is not going to be in the exact same clothes she had on the day before. So somebody, whilst you're reading, need to identify all the different wardrobe changes. So you are logging the costumes for each character. The makeup, you have someone assigned to makeup. So you're looking at the blood, the wounds, and the prosthetics. Vehicles, we call them picture vehicles, and that's the amount of vehicles you need on screen. So on-screen cars, on-screen boats, on-screen trains, planes, helicopters, motorcycle, moped, doesn't matter. Once it's in the script, you need to track it, okay? Any stunts. So stunts would be any action required by a stunt expertise, which means you may not let your actor do the stunt. You have to hire a stunt coordinator and practice rehearsal. So we'll touch on that in a little bit, but this is how someone reading a script, and I'll tell you what I do in a bit. You have to start thinking of the different elements that's coming out of each section or each scene to know the amount of money you need to spend and the amount of elements you need. Okay. Now we have the special effects. So SPFX is special effects. Explosion, squibs. Squibs is a little blood pack when you see a fight sequence. Pew, pew, and it hits, it's actually a little pack of blood, or well, not blood, it's fake blood, it's corn syrup or whatever. And it's actually embedded into the character's clothing. And when it hits, it bursts and you see blood. But you need somebody to handle the special effects. We need to source the squibs. If we have rain, we might have a rainmaker. You're not waiting until rain is going to fall to capture the scene, because then you have cameras and you need to have rain cover. So if the scene calls on a rainy day or Maria is standing there and then rain starts to pour, is that actual rain? Are we creating some level of device to show that rain is falling? But then that's also a cost involved, okay? Any wind, if you want to create wind, we have fans, we have different things that can create wind. But of course, somebody has to be hired to provide those elements. Livestock. Livestock will be any animals on set. We call them, of course, animal wranglers. So you see the wrangler there. But any animal you need, we normally need to provide it. So for instance, when I was working on Green Days by the River, we had to use the dogs in the scene, and the police service, they were able to provide the dogs. They were the animal wranglers on set for Green Days by the River, and we had to do a lot of rehearsals. So this is in advance of filming with the actors who had to interact with these four dogs to make sure that they were comfortable with them, right? So you're also, when you're breaking down scenes, thinking, how much rehearsal time do I need? Is this even realistic to do? Okay, and a wrangler, of course, will be handling. Now you have different wranglers. You can have a background wrangler. You can have a wrangler for guns. So normally we have props. These are props. Okay, anything that you need that might need to get police permission, that's another conversation we can have, but you are still breaking down the scene to make sure you capture all of these categories. Now, who breaks down the script? So a lot of times we have people saying, I have a script, I want to make a movie, let's make a movie. Hold on. There's a process there. So now that you are the script writer or you have a script, you can send it to the assistant director and or the line producer. Now, first I would normally say you would hire the line producer first, because the line producer, we will then break down the script, but we're thinking about the budgeting side of it. So it might be just a brief breakdown, and we may not schedule the different scenes as yet, but we'll look at it, break down all the elements, and determine who this film is going to cost blank. So let me just repeat, you cannot know the cost of a film until you break it down. So don't just pie in the sky, say, I need $1 million for my movie. Do you actually need $1 million? Did you break it down? Okay, and then you have the assistant director who usually works with the line producer and the director. And of course, the assistant director, we're responsible for liaising with all the head of departments. So first then we will break down the script. So the script is broken down and we will plan the schedule. Now that's the actual shooting order of the film. So we will be able to tell you as the AD or the line producer if your film will take 5 days, if it will take 10 days, if it's 15 days, if it's 20 days. And if it's 5 days, that's a budget. If it's 10 days, more money. If it's 15 days, money. Okay, so your length, your schedule will determine your cost of your film and of course the elements in your film. Now, just to show you all, these are some of the projects I would have worked on as the person either breaking down the script or producing it or being the line producer, right? These are all, well, features except for Fantastic Friday, and Mixed Up is a TV series. Now, I will show you all samples of a couple of documents as well, so don't worry. And before we would hire any cast and crew or even the head of departments, first you have to know what your script, the breakdown, the budget of it, and of course the amount of days you'll be filming. Now we have other persons. So now that we have the breakdown, you hire AD, of course you might have a director already. Each department head that you're hiring for the film will also break down the script. So yes, I am breaking it down, but then once you hire the art department, they will now read the script again and go through. They're looking specifically for props and set dressing. Costume department, they're looking for all the wardrobe changes and they're tracking the story days in the film. So the wardrobe will know, okay, Maria shows up for 5 days, and that's 5 different outfits. But it might be in one day she actually attends 4 events. So in one day, that's 4 wardrobe changes. So they are tracking the cost, they are tracking the amount of it, they will track if they need multiple outfits. And of course, each head of department in their tracking will be determining their own budget. So yes, as the line producer, you might come up with budget A, but then you may not have been as detailed and you may now have additional cost that the other departments are telling you. So casting will be looking at how much actors they need. Locations will be looking at all the different filming sites, whether it be down the islands, if it's at a hotel, if the person jumping off a building. We're not ready for that yet. Maybe, right? Now that's what you're looking for with stunts. So we have sound, so they're looking at all the audio needs, and then the stunts will be the action sequences. And each person, we could add more. There's a lot more to this list. You have the camera department, they're looking at certain different special rigging or things that they need for the camera. You might have the transportation or the picture vehicle wrangler. Depending on the story, you would know the different head or departments to hire. Okay, you might even, let me just say, as the line producer, you are reading the script to see where you can have product placement. And this is where we kind of tell people you could sell products in film, but the film needs to call for it. So for instance, in Maria, standing with the suitcase could be a particular branded suitcase that allows for product placement. Now, as producers, we're looking to see where we can get money. Yes, we might be asking for investment or sponsorship, but you have to be very detailed. What are you asking the investment for? What are you asking the sponsorship for? Now, for each head of department, and this is pretty much standard in the script breakdown world, you would have different colors for each element. So you might have, now this is where we have a lot of Sharpies and highlighters, our favorite thing. So if you're into stationery, you would love being in the administrative side of the film industry, because then we get to have fun with highlighters and all that great stuff. Now, each element have colors. So you have the speaking role, the silent roles, atmosphere, and the colors is to help you quickly identify what is needed when you look at a script immediately. So you know you have to deal with certain elements. Now, the software that you use for either writing or breaking down, I'm not going to be, very hard and fast. Some people use sticky notes, or back in the day, we did use sticky notes. I remember when we were working on Basily. Yes, we used the Movie Magic software, but we also had a giant board on the wall, and we identified each breakout day, and we still use sticky notes to help us. And after we filmed each scene, we were pulling the sticky notes off. So you can use Microsoft, you can use Excel, you can use Word as an option. Studio Binder is a very good free platform that helps you acquaint yourself with the filmmaking process, and it helps you from the administrative side of it as well as the production side of it. Now, Final Draft, like I mentioned, is the software that we use. It's about 200 to something USD, but you have 2 licenses. So you can put it on 2 laptops if you need it. So that's the Final Draft. And then the program for breaking down your scripts would be the Movie Magic. I know some people use Gorilla. There's also Celtex. I might be missing a few others, but I only use the Movie Magic and Final Draft. But you can use whatever you want to learn the process, okay? Now, can you tell how long, can a script tell you how long a movie will be? Yes or no? So based on the length of the script that's in front of you, would you know the length of the film? Yes. Now, how can you tell the length of a film just by knowing how many pages in the script? We measure the length of a script page by 1/8 of a page. And this is the measurement used to estimate the screen time and the shooting time for each scene. I will explain. So when you have this is a letter size page, by the way. Do I have a ruler with me? No, I don't. You would break it up into 8. So if you have a regular ruler, you're looking at inches, and that's 8. You're checking 8 inches. That's 1 page. And based on the 8s, you will know that's 1 full minute of a film. So for each 1 page, it reflects 1 minute of screen time. We good? Good. Now, this is a part of a script from Jordan Peele's Get Out. And I just kind of superimpose 1 page onto the 8s. So you can see from page 2, it's taking us, this would be, I might probably put that as 1/8 of a page. The next scene, exterior, suburban street continuous, this could be kind of like 1/8 of a page. The sports car, 1, 2, I'll probably put this as 2. And then the second part, the suburban street, 1, 2, 3, 3. So I would count. So yes, we have 3 scenes, 3.5 scenes here. You know, for this one scene, this should really take maybe 5 seconds, 10 seconds-ish, right? So you're working it out. If it's 4/8 of a page, that's 30 seconds. So that's how you will work out, even though you have multiple scenes on 1 page, you could determine the amount of time each scene would take. Now, from a producer perspective, when we're looking at things like this and we are scheduling, it should be that don't spend 5 days to film 5 seconds of film. So that's the rationale behind it. So if it's a very short scene, then from a breaking down perspective, can you film this in half a day? Can you film this in 4 hours? How much time do you actually need? Now, yes, we have exceptions to the rule, because I can hear some of you filmmakers. What if it's a car chase? What if it's a fight sequence? We will discuss that. But just regular conversation, regular communicating, we will break it down. You only need at least maybe 3 hours setup to film it, because time is money. We good? So that's the 1/8 of a page breakdown. So the exceptions to the rule will be musicals, because if you all know, Basadi was a musical, and what that means is you have to have a lot of do-overs. Remember, you have the music playing. Think of it like a music video. So you would normally record all your music in advance, but whilst the characters are on set, you have now speakers. You play the music and the characters are right? But you might have to take several takes. It might have a dance sequence. So if it's a musical, a fight or a stunt sequence, a car chase, special effects, crowds will take up a lot of time. I always tell my independent filmmakers, less is more. If you want to be a first-time filmmaker or you know want to get your feet wet, try to limit the amount of characters, locations, and night sequences. Daytime, two characters, boy meets girl, a lovely little rom-com meet cute. You'll have a better chance finishing a high quality film than trying to add all the elements. Okay? The sport performances, children, yes, children can cost you some time, but also from a union perspective, now we do not have any film unions in Trinidad, but when we're on set, we still kind of work with the SAG after a union rules for children, and you try to let children spend less time on set. You make sure that they're well taken care of. You might have to bring in a teacher. So again, you can see all the different jobs that you can do in the film industry. Children need teachers, we have medical, we have different types of staff on set that get paid to take part in the filmmaking process. And of course, dealing with animals, that will take up a lot of time. I wouldn't call the film, but we did have a film where the animal wrangler bought the iguana and the iguana ran away. Okay, so we lost our iguana. We had to now have a fake iguana. I'm not going to say who that is. But these things happen. And so now do you have multiple animals? Do you have multiple iguanas, and how are you actually handling that filmmaking process, depending on the animals you have on set? And then you need to make sure the animal is ready or that the wrangler is able to handle it. So this is an example of if you're looking at a script and you have to break it down. Now, what I want you to know is, yes, you might be writing the elements, but other things might be missing. And that's where you're building out the atmosphere. So for instance, if we're looking at 140 on top, we're seeing the other kids look around. He's not there. Exterior recreation park day. Katie steps back off the bus, how much children we have on the bus. There's a bus driver. What else is happening? So yes, the script writer may not have identified every single thing in the scene, but the person that's breaking down the script, you are now thinking, what else will make this feel more authentic and more real? And so this is why you have your highlighters, you're breaking things up because you need to identify every single thing that is coming out of that scene because you have to plan it and you have to budget it. And of course, in the planning, you have to schedule meetings. So in film, we have a lot of meetings leading up to the film. So sometimes, yes, we might say we schedule, it's like 15 film days, but we might be working on a film 2 months, 3 months in advance, 4 months. It depends. If it's a highly technical VFX children period piece, we are working well in advance because you want to be able to have everything prepped before going to camera, or as we say, principal photography. Else it will cost you money if you have to stop filming during your film day. Okay. Now this is a template for a breakdown sheet as well. So you could design this. I can share this with you all, where you will have each scene will have its own breakdown sheet. And this helps you kind of categorize. So you'll know, okay, scene one, you're checking the page count. So it's 2/8 of a page, the dates, the product of the company, that's fine. The scene number, the scene name, is it an interior or exterior? And that D or N is day or night, or it might be mid-morning, or as our lovely writers, at dusk or dawn. But let's be honest, sometimes when we see dusk or dawn, we're thinking, okay, is it the rainy season? Is it in December? How much light do we have to film? And that's things the ADs and the line producers are thinking. Can we actually film the dusk scene the way the writer wants it, based on time of year? Right? Or we might start thinking, do we need to recreate that dusk or dawn scene? Where are we filming? If we're filming maybe on top Parliament, we have more time for light. But if we're somewhere in some valley in Diego Martin, we're going to lose the sun. And those are things we think about to know how to schedule the shooting day. Right? So you break it down, you have a description, and this is a very good example of each scene and how you would categorize it. Now, you can also do, like I mentioned, you have the strips of paper. Some people, if you don't want to have it in front of you and typing it in, you can have paper with you, like I mentioned, the Movie Magic software, and of course, our online free sites. Now, the money part of it, I'm going fast enough so we can have questions and answers, okay? Now, the money part, like I briefly discussed, time is money. And like we said, the old school method, ADs used to actually, because let me tell you, as somebody breaking down a script, we need to see everything. So the office will be filled with paper. I always say as filmmakers, we're not so environmentally friendly because we need to print. There's a lot of printing, there's a lot of paper. You just want to make sure that everything is accounted for, right? And we will identify for each scene, we'll have a strip, and then they would move the strips to tell you what the amount of scenes you're filming per day. I'll show you all samples in a bit. This is how the Movie Magic scheduling program looks on the back end. So if we're using the software, I'm typing in all of the different scenes. So exterior, day one, Maria at the beach, exterior day two, and I'm identifying. Now, once the dates, once the whole script is broken down, we call it a chronological. So that's the actual running order of the film or the script. We need to now decide which scenes you're filming on which days. So if Maria goes to the beach 4 times, you're not going to say day one beach and then day two she's in the club and day three she's back to the beach. No, we're going to schedule all of Maria's beach days on one day. So you now start to categorize for locations. You might start to schedule for characters. You might say, how many days do we need John on set? So you might move John to, or if John is like a big time entertainer, you might want, okay, we have John for one day. You're going to put all of John's scenes on that one day. And ideally, top of the day, film John, send John home. Okay. So that's why you start to think, do we have celebrities? Do we have any location constraints or concerns? If you are getting access to one location for this one specific moment, you will let the producers know, you let the ADs know, and we will say, okay, let's actually film this at this time because we have all the elements in place. It's a lot of coordinating, can be fun. So any project managers, we need you. Anybody who likes logistics and really being very, yes, we have to be very anal because you want to make sure you don't miss anything. So that's where we schedule the layout of it on the back end. Now, for the types of reports, once we have finished the breakdown, we have the chronology, which is the order of the entire script. We have the one-liner or the shooting schedule, which is a breakdown of all of the filming days and how we will film it. And then the day out of days will determine what the days we need for each element or character. So let me just show you all samples. Hold on. I came prepared. Okay, so first we have the paint. Hold on, so I'm using my chronology. Right. So what you're seeing in front of you, you may or may not know, we would have filmed Mix Up, which was a 5-episodic TV series, but we did it in studio. Now, when I did the breakdown for Mixed Up, this would be each scene for each, was this all right, for each episode. So you looking at it can identify for scene one, the pilot episode, which is Crazy Day, as in name, each episode had a title. Then we had the cast members, we had the mom, the son, the daughter. It's telling you where, the location and data, interior location, what happens, the different arts or set, teen, bedroom, GAC. Now, as what we will call GAC is if it's something very specific to a location and we do not need to identify anything differently. So kitchen, we might just say kitchen GAC. GAC means things that you would find in a kitchen. Bedroom GAC, things in a bedroom. Warehouse GAC, things in a warehouse. Unless there's some element that does not belong in the kitchen, or if it's a prop, then we'll identify it and break it out. It's 1 and 1/8 of a page and it's story day one. Because remember, once you are breaking down a script, you are checking how many story days. Every time you see day into night and then day, that's another day. That's new wardrobe, logistics, all of it. So this is telling you the running order of it. Right, it's for each one, so it's 11 pages long. right? So we call this an expanded chronology. You can just look at it and determine the different props. We needed bygone choker, fry bake, and lunch bags. And the only reason why it's a prop is because the characters interacted with it. Okay, they touched it, they had to go and find it in their lunch bags. Right? Good. So this is what this looks like in terms of a full script breakdown. Now the other part of it, so let me show you what the day out of days looks like. Close this off. One second. Right. So now the day out of day will tell you how many days and for how long you need the individual or the actor. Now we can generate a day out of day report for any of the elements, meaning if I wanted to get a day out of days for all of the props, I can generate a day out of day for props. If I want to get day out of day for VFX, for stunts, when we need the animals, whatever it is, the program tells you, you generate it and it comes out like this particular document. So for instance, if I want to know, this is the mixed up day out of days for the actors or the cast. Month, the day of the week, and the shooting day. So let's use numbers. Let's use someone to start with. And if we have Fatima, I think that was the grandmom, SW means that's when the person starts work. So you will know Friday, the 26th of August, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 main characters starting work for the first day. That's their first time filming on set. And then we have the food delivery guy who is starting work and finishing. So SWF is start, work, finish. So you know, okay, we have at least a day player. So now number 13, because each character will get a number. Once you break down a script, you'll have a number. The numbers mean the order of appearances in the storyline. So let's say the mom, she actually is number 1, or what we call top billing. Top billing means that she is the main character. She appears in the most amount of scenes in the film or the TV series. She's character number 1, top billing. The dad, David, is number 2. He appears less than she does. Okay? That's how you determine who gets the rights. When you look at a film and you see Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston, and you might see little changes in credits. Credits tell you a lot about seniority and status. So the start word, so then we see Daniel, the son, he's actually starting on day 2. And then the gray area, that's because we had a break or a day off. So we did not identify what was needed based on that. Good. And this is another document that we will use to determine catering. We haven't touched on catering yet, but you need to know the actors, and remember, not just the actors, you need to know the crew that will be on set. We have a ton of crew, but this is a script breakdown session, so we are not dealing with the persons you need to hire in terms of the crew. But it will tell you for a budgeting purpose. Now, the props list, 1 second. Right, so the props list, so this is just one option, one way of breaking it down. So for all of these scenes, for the entire movie, I need these props. Yes, we have the set. I need a living room, the parents' bedroom, the teen bedroom, and the teen male bedroom. So at least you know, we actually had 5, 6. We had the kitchen as well. All right. And before you start filming, you would be able to know you need all of these sets either built or you need to find it. And this is where you go out and you look for locations and you get people, you have to pay for these locations, the type of location, if it's a fancy house, if it's a wooden house, and that determines the cost. It determines what you need in order to film the space. It's a lot of logistics, but it's fun, right? And then for the props, remember, you need to now know all of the different props you need, because what happens is you want to make sure and have it on set at all times. And the reason why you want to have the props and stuff available, you might have extra time in a day and you could say, hey, we could film scene 13. And then the AD will say, hey, props, do you have the props for scene 13? Casting, do you have the actors for scene 13? Wardrobe, do you have the, so you're asking all the head of departments, do you have all the elements and people we need if we could film an extra scene? And that's where the preparation, that's where the prep comes in. And that's the significance of having the ADs on set, understanding and always being on standby to pivot and change. Right, so we have all the elements in there. One of our production notes, we had a TikTok video, and in that situation, we actually had one of the TikTok influencers. He recorded a video specifically for the production. So, but by putting that note there, it means that we have to remember to reach out to the influencer to get him to record a special TikTok video to have the video ready for us when we need to use it. So that's what you're identifying and breaking down. And I want to show you all just one more visual. Hold on. Right. Now the one-liner. So yes, we have the chronology. So right. So what you will see at the top of the page, it will tell you all of the cast members for the film. This is in the entire production. We have 13 characters in total. And then this tells you the breakdown of each of these scenes in terms of each episode. Okay, so that's a breakdown. All right, so episode 4, we have the kitchen. I actually didn't pull the order, but that's fine. Good. And hold on. We're still going, but we're almost done. You get your questions in a bit. Getting 15 minutes for questions, hopefully. Right? All right, so you all were able to see the chronology, the one-liner, the shooting schedule, and then the day out of these. Right, so if we have to look at what determines your budget, your shooting schedule determines it, and of course your one-liner. So we went through the day out of days. So that is for each element in the script. The day out of days will determine the finances needed for it. And the cast, like we mentioned, if your lead actor is filming for 5 days, then you can budget to hire the person. And a lot of times, sometimes new filmmakers, you want to hire an actor and then you want to kind of space it out so far, but you don't want to pay. Now, again, we can have a whole session on budgeted for film, right? You want to be able to hire someone and say, hey, I'm able to hire you, whether you have a negotiated fee, film the person and send them on their way, please, right? All of that will make it an easier film process for everyone. So you want to be mindful, because if you're hiring an entertainer or celebrity, they still need to rehearse. They still need to do a table reading. Now, the table reading is before you start filming. All of the main actors and the head of departments will all sit down in a room, a big room, and the actors will read the script. Now you're reading the script for energy, you're checking the flow. You have the script supervisor that's timing the length. So yes, we might say each page is a minute, but depending on how the characters are reading it, it might give you, you can also get an actual running time of it. And then each department is listening to see what works for them. So that script, that table reading gives us more information. And then even before you start filming, you have several meetings. So the director will meet with casting, the director will meet with the DP, the director. There are so many meetings that the director has to be a part of. This is why I blame directors for a bad film, right? That's just my thing. If a film is bad, it's the director's fault. Okay, don't tell directors I said that. Good, so this is another example of the day out of days for the cast members. Oh, why I included this one. So yes, we have start, work, hold. Sorry, the H is hold. So it means that yes, for Bobby started, he's working, but then for day 4, he's on hold. Day 5 and 6, he's on hold. But hold means it could also be on standby, because you want to make sure, even if you're not using the person on that day, are they available? Because then some people might be like, well, you told me I was filming on day 7. And because of how filmmaking goes, you might have to move up something. You might have to change it. The venue might call you and say, "Hey, we know we told you Saturday, but we really only have Sunday." And then you realize you have to now run around and change and make sure everyone is available for the film. Now, the additional considerations for your script: the day break, so that will be the time off during filming or turnaround time. And of course, you have to schedule that in. Because remember, in filmmaking, call time is not, we don't, and let me just say this, filmmakers and the creative people, we don't work 8 to 4. We work whenever. So a call time for a film might be at 6 p.m. We're leaving that set 6 a.m. We try to do 12-hour days, and then you have a 12-hour turnaround. Okay, so it might be, if you have mostly night scenes, you might start at 5 p.m., finish 5 a.m. We've started productions at midday, 12 midday, we finished 12 midnight. I have done, I would say, for when we were doing Cutlass, we were filming past Maracas, down Rincon, and I would leave at 3 a.m. to get to the location at least by 4 something, because we were the first team. I think we were dealing with locations as well as setup. So it depends on the story. Scenes will tell you what time is, as we call it, call time. You also want to think about special equipments. Do you need to have a crane? Do you need drones? Any background extras? So of course you have to pay extras, but you also have to feed extras. And extras will eat you out of house and land. So you have to be very mindful, depending on your big script sequence. Can you afford the extras? Can you feed them? And can you house them? Because then that's something that you have to be very careful of. And then you need to have additional staff, or we call them production assistants, to help wrangle the extras. And then the locations, you also know, this is when you're reading the script too. You might think, if it's a car chase, I need to have road lockup. I need to go to the city corporation, the borough, whoever, to get permission. Let me just say, humans, any location you are filming, you need a release. Anybody, any character, any special um artwork, you need to get permission. Okay, you can't just wing it. We're not the news stations. You need to get location releases, cast releases, anything. Okay, else you will not be able to distribute your film in the future. Good. So if you need to have a road lockup, you need to go to the police station, tell them you are filming a movie or whatever, and then they will tell you you have to pay. You need insurance. There are rules to it. And then the police will tell you the time of day you could do the road lockup, where they will block off the road for you. Hardly ever if it's a main road, right? But still, it might happen depending on the time of day. It might be a holiday if you have the money, right? That you would be able to handle that sequence. And all of that is important. Once you're reading the script, that's where your brain needs to be at. You're thinking of the different costs involved. And on that note, that's why I mentioned pay attention. It can add up. You are thinking about additional days, locations, extras will cost you, overtime will cost you. Now, even in terms of local filmmaking, we don't usually have an overtime cost. I know we could work on it, but if you are working with international crew, they have overtime. We actually have time cards. You have to check it. They don't go over, and if they have to go over, they will charge you overtime. So for those of you not familiar in the film industry, film is a very lucrative industry you can be a part of. There is a lot of money to make in film, but also there's a lot of things that you can do in terms of whatever your skill set is that can actually be very applicable to the film industry. Right? So please consider rehearsal time. If the script calls for a lot of maybe like a choreography, for Green Days, we had dancing. It was a period piece and the actors had to dance. So we actually had to schedule dancing classes. But what we also did is we worked with a school that had dancers already. So they were all extras in their dancing uniform. So we had less work to do for the dancers. So those are things you can think about. Of course, rental space. Remember, you don't only need space for the filming. We need what you call base camp. And base camp will be where the extras will be housed, the crew that's not on set will be housed, where you'll be feeding people, where the washroom facilities will be, where the movie village will be, where you could look at the film while it's being recorded. So all of those things are important. Consultations, you need to have meetings before you film with special effects and VFX because they all have specific rules to it. Stunt training, I've done films where we had to actually put aside time to train the actors. Some actors wanted to do their own stunts. Others said, no, 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 I'm not doing that. And so we needed to now let the stunt coordinator look, well, the person who's doing the stunts look just like the actor or as best as possible, right? Prop set locations and wardrobe, time and finances must be allocated to properly prepare for the one. Good. How much time we have? We have 11 minutes. Thank you for your time. I wanted to check that. I have 42 messages, but anything urgent, you could unmute and ask me a question. I'm seeing Tristan. Yes, normally for cast, we'll hire a casting director and they will find all the actors and then have auditions to find your talent. I'm seeing some actors here. Hi, Samara. Any questions? If I need, unless you want me to go through. Um,
Afternoon. I have one question.
yes, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Right. So my question is obviously breaking down everything to a T and having it down to a science before you get on set. That is the
Mhm.
ideal thing because it's just very, very meticulous, as I
Yeah,
see with all the sticky notes and everything, right? But
yeah.
obviously, I've watched films and documentaries where, like Michael Bay on Transformers 2 would say, we went on to set and we didn't even have a script, or we didn't know what we're doing for the day.
Yep.
Even there's Stranger Things 5 documentary series, I think the Duffer said for the finale, which is the biggest thing, they went onto set and people didn't even know what they're doing. So I'm wondering, what does the breakdown process look like for that? Because obviously there'll still be a general breakdown, but the specifics, meticulous kind of
Hmm.
pieces wouldn't be there. So is it just chaos, or is it like an organized chaos in a way, or how does that work?
Yes. And I saw the documentary with Stranger Things and I was mortified. And that's any 80s nightmare. It's any line producer's nightmare. Because if you are going to camera and you do not have the final schedule, every single head of department is on standby. Wardrobe, they don't know what's happening. The props person don't know, the set people don't know, the cinematographers don't know. People don't know what to do. And so what will happen is, yes, I have been on sets where the writer, and I'm not going to call names for that one, we may have to change something in the storyline, and you can do that. And that is not, it's not that you can't, it's that you ideally shouldn't. But if you have to have a script change, then at first the writer needs to make the change. Then we have to change the color of the page because then we need to make sure we have different colors. Please buy good yams, pink, blue, green, yellow. So every time a script is edited whilst we're in production mode or filming mode, you have to change the color. And now you will take that script color change, give it to the 80s. We need to break it down to now decide, oh my God, we need to bring in we need Josan to come in, but Josan wasn't supposed to come in till tomorrow. And everybody's scrambling. Now, if it's one of those chaotic sets, it is going to escalate the budget, or as we say, balloon the budget. So yes, they do it. I know Stranger Things would have cost a lot of money. It's very uncomfortable. It affects your storyline continuity, and it just frustrates the process. So yes, ideally don't do it, but it happens. It's a good question. Anybody else can ask me questions? For the next film project, can people that are interested in script breakdown will be hired? For the next film project, can people that are interested in script breakdown will be hired? That's for who, Ayodel? Is that for who? Oh, Tristan, go ahead.
Hi, I saw that Samara asked this question and I Googled the answer and I didn't understand the answer, so I'm gonna ask you. What does SWD mean?
Oh, I'm not sure with the D. I don't know if that was a typo because I also sort of like that's I don't know about SWD to
I
be fair.
Googled and it said
Yeah.
start will drop, but I have no idea what that
Oh,
means.
well, that's a very unique case. That's when you get rid of the person.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
so now actually I'm glad you mentioned it because in a start work drop situation, which thank God we're hardly ever part of, you might hire the person to come on set and for whatever reason they're not performing or something is happening and you have to get rid of the person. Now, that might have some drama involved, but I always tell people you don't want to keep it, put them in the film, and then you have a bad production. So it might not be an easy thing to do, but if you have to drop someone, we drop them. Just make sure and let them sign an NDA because they would have access to the scripts. I didn't discuss NDAs, but please let everyone on your production sign NDAs. You have contracts, so you need lawyers, you need a legal team involved, but definitely that's getting rid of people. Well, yeah, fired, Tristan. It mightn't be so simple, but things happen. I'll not give an example on that. Okay, so we have 6 minutes. Yeah, so we do stick to our 1 hour. Keelan.
Hi, good day, everybody. So, in cases where individuals are first time producers or production managers, what do they usually forget about sometimes? Like, sometimes when we have like ideas and concepts in our minds, sometimes we may forget, oh, wait, I forgot to mention that I should so and so and so. Like, what are the most common things that they typically forget?
As a producer, catering and transportation. That will be something you would not fully think about, and it will cost you money. And the reason why I say catering, depending on the location of a film or the distance, people will feel tired faster. So, for instance, when we're doing certain scenes and we're filming Manzanilla, because filmmakers, we love all these very far exotic places. But what that means is we need to organize transportation from either Port of Spain to Manzanilla or Mayaro or wherever. And if we're filming near a beach, if you're filming somewhere up a mountain, I filmed everywhere, right? We had to have like RAV4s to take us up a mountain for one particular film set. And what you don't factor in is like for that particular film that we needed the RAV4. That's a special type of vehicle, the big ones with the big, big wheels, right? Because we were literally going up a mountain. That cost us more money. We might need to hire Maxi to bring the extras in. We might need to hire special vehicles to pick up the actors. I particularly like to get actors transported to set just to make sure time is managed properly. I don't let people travel. Travel is a nightmare. Then I'm running late. I got that time is money. So the transport and then the food. Because if you're working maybe near a beach and you have the grip department chugging a sea stand through sand, they get tired more. They'll drink more water. They'll drink more energy drinks. Yes, you need a lot of energy drinks for filmmakers, right? They will eat more. And then you need to know the type of meals to help boost energy. So even from a producer perspective, we're thinking about having more bananas on set because that's, the potassium for certain things. You don't just bring food that will make people tired. So it's a very strategic, curated process in terms of transport and catering. And insurance. Please insure your sets. You do not want anything to happen and you have not factored in insurance. It's a good question, Keelan. 3 minutes to go.
Hi, good day.
Hello. Hi,
You
Christopher.
mentioned signing well, you said you didn't mention signing an NDA, but
Mhm.
can you just two or three things that would be important to put in your contract?
Right. So the contract is not the NDA. An NDA is a non-disclosure agreement. Once you are sharing your script or any confidential information with, it could be an investor, it could be with the talent, it could be with the crew. That is what you're letting them sign so that they cannot share any information. So that's separate from the contract. Now, the contract for the actors or the crew, because every single person needs to sign a contract, please, right? Then that could be, you could include a non-disclosure clause in the contract, but the NDA could be separate. Because, so for instance, even if you are renting a location for the film, you could let the location owner sign an NDA. And this is why for a lot of films in Hollywood, you will see only after the film has ended or it has been released, you would say, no, oh, now I can talk about it. I was on scene for Batman, whatever. It's because it's a very serious clause and you don't want anyone leaking any behind the scene footage. So we have rules. If we're filming, you can take photos, but you cannot post until the film has been wrapped and premiered. Okay, so we are very specific with those things. And if you don't tell the actors and the crew that, you find yourself in some trouble. All right, so that concludes our lunch and learn. We have, of course, more coming up, but if I feel like maybe you'll need to get additional insight, you can respond and tell us if you need more sessions like these. We will be very willing and open to share details with you. The main thing for us is letting you know the different categories that are involved in terms of making films, and it really starts from you understanding how to break down a script and the different elements needed in the script breakdown. So thank you all very much for attending. It was so nice having you all here. And yes, this was on behalf of the Film Commission and on the film industry. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Leslie. Great. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks much. Bye.